Did you know that in ancient Japan, enormous tomb mounds were constructed for the elite? One of the largest covers an area of around 347 football fields. Hi, I'm Courtney, and today we are traveling to Kofun period Japan, also known as the Old Tombs period, which lasted from 300 to 552 CE. We will take a closer look at an ancient Japanese funerary sculpture in the Asian Art Museum of San Francisco that was excavated from one of these magnificent tombs. This sculpture, which was made of clay, is in the form of a warrior standing on a short cylinder. He stands at attention and wears a helmet and armor with a short dagger at his waist. This figure is called a Haniwa, which means clay circle in Japanese. Hani means clay and wa means circle. It is one of tens of thousands of Haniwa that were crafted during the Kofun period, but more on that in a minute. During the Kofun period, Japan was organized into chiefdoms controlled regionally by clan or kinship groups. Important people such as clan leaders and members of the clan elite were buried in pit shaft graves, or graves that were dug vertically into the ground and lined with stone under enormous burial mounds called Kofun, which means old tombs. These tombs are characteristic of the period, giving it its name. The mounds range in size and are circular, square, or keyhole shaped, meaning they look like the shape of an old-fashioned keyhole. While various objects were placed in the tombs, Haniwa were placed on top of the mound over the grave, with the cylinder portion tucked into the ground and the Haniwa figure visible above ground level, almost like a tombstone. But get this, not just one Haniwa would be distributed across the mound, but thousands of them, and in a great variety of shapes, including human figures, objects, houses, boats, and animals. The largest Kofun burial mound in Japan is attributed to Nintoku, a semi-legendary emperor. It is surrounded by 3 moats and covers 458 acres, and originally had over 20,000 Haniwa distributed across its surface. Haniwa were made by hand using the coil method, which means the artisan used coils of clay to build the form of the figure. Imagine the amount of time it likely took for artisans to make over 20,000 Haniwa for Emperor Nintoku's tomb, each one carefully made by hand. To make the production of these sculptures efficient, because they had to make so many of them, the artisans only paid attention to the necessary details to suggest the function or identity of the Haniwa. They weren't interested in realism or making true-to-life portrayals of humans and animals. They abbreviated details so they could focus on the features most important to the function or role of the Haniwa. For instance, we have no doubt the Asian Art Museum Haniwa warrior represents a warrior because he wears a helmet decorated with rivets. But notice how there isn't much attention paid to the rest of the clothing or to the realism of his facial features. The eyes and mouth are simple cut-out shapes, while the nose is slightly modeled in relief. The artisan wasn't very concerned with portraying accurate proportions of the human body either. Notice how short the arms are on this figure. Other Haniwa figures even lack lower bodies, like this pair of female shaman-shaped Haniwa, also featured in the Asian Art Museum collections. Shaman functioned in many early societies across Eurasia as intermediaries between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Since Haniwa shaped like human figures range in type, from warriors and shamans to dancers, singers, and musicians, they seem to have been crafted to represent a cross-section of society during the Kofun period in Japan. So, why were Haniwa made in so many different shapes and distributed across Kofun burial mounds of the elite? Scholars can't be sure because of the lack of written records about these sculptures. but one theory is that they were made to serve and protect the tomb occupant in the afterlife. For example, house-shaped Haniwa were typically placed at the center of the mounds over the grave of the deceased to possibly serve as an abode for the dead. Haniwa in the shapes of people and animals might represent substitutes for live burials or sacrifices, similar to ancient customs in China, where clay figurines were made as replacements for human sacrifice. However, so far, there is no evidence that the elite of the Kofun period practiced human sacrifice like the ancient Chinese did. Haniwa warriors may have served a protective function, protecting the spirits of the Kofun elite in the afterlife. Haniwa in the shapes of figures like dancers and musicians, and objects like shields and houses may have provided the deceased with a familiar and happy resting place. A desire amongst the living to provide for the dead and protect the spirit of the dead is a universal theme across time and place. That's all for today. Until next time, I hope you'll continue to explore the mysteries of world cultures with us.